be Joyce Moloi Maropa. Joyce, how are you doing?
I'm very fine. How are you?
I'm very well, and Happy New Year, by the way.
Same to all of you, and thanks for inviting us for this important event.
Like Nelson Mandela, Joe Slovo was listed under the Suppression of Communism Act, and as a communist, you could not be quoted in public. Remind us again, for those that don't know, just who was Tata Joe Slovo?
Yeah, Joe Slovo is one of the key figures and key leaders in this country who have played a very significant role. Just to reflect a bit, he was born on the 23rd of May in 1926, and he died on the 6th of June in 1995, hence the commemoration and an important event for the South African Communist Party. Just to also remind the South Africans, because these are key people and these are key leaders who actually built the country
as we know it today.
Yes, we had various role players within the background of our democracy, and therefore Comrade Joe was one of the key people. We normally do the commemoration and make sure that we send the message across, because we want him to always be remembered. He was the National Cabinet Minister. He was the NEC member, National Executive Committee for the African National Congress. He was the key leader for the South African Communist Party, hence our commemoration. And he was a mentor to majority of us who actually grew during those times. He was also a strategist and always developed some path and some ways and developed some documents that we always discussed. So once we have the commemoration, our intention is to put up a discussion out there where people start to revive the ideology. And we're glad that it normally happens at the beginning of the year, where we come from the festive season, the new year, where we revive ourselves
and reconnect, importantly. Very quickly, how do we keep his legacy alive?
Well, as the South African Communist Party, we had always celebrated, commemorated the anniversaries, and we've done that at the Avalon Cemetery where he was buried. Remember, there was a racial barrier as part of that action, because he's the one who actually said, I need to be buried at Avalon. And that on its own, it shows the kind and the caliber of who Comrade Joe Slovo was. He was rooted amongst the masses of our people, and he's always remembered at Avalon. But what we do once we commemorate, part of it is to make everyone, ordinary people, know and understand who this leader was, but to learn about it, because it just got, commemorated there. But all other provinces have various activities, lectures, discussions, just for the ideological understanding and, that key background that our country comes from.
We've talked about it so much, and we've seen it through the passing of Tata Nelson Mandela. Yeah. Do we give enough recognition of the sacrifices that the families have made while these men and women were doing their bit to liberate us? It
is an important question that you're putting across, because it actually shows that we can't de-link our history. For an example, once we talk about Utata or Nelson Mandela, we cannot de-link all other key leaders, who also contributed and played a key role. As the Alliance, in the Alliance tradition, we do identify, like we did correctly, identify Nelson Mandela is a key figure that we rally behind. All of the other efforts we're working towards having. And I think we've achieved a lot, because we actually produced an international, father of the world who's recognized by everybody. So it's part of the strategy that we identified and we understood and knew that if we actually put Comrade Mandela in the forefront, all other comrades can play a role that will make our country significant. We're known internationally now through the identification, which was correctly so, of ensuring that we have our key figure as Nelson Mandela. The strategies like Comrade Joe Slovo always had to put up a lot of strategies, a lot of perspective in terms of how do we carry all this and ensure that we make an impact, and I'm sure we are.
Let's talk about that impact very quickly, because we are in an election here, and a lot has been talked about the SACP and where it finds itself, and a lot has been talked about relevance. Yeah. As a national treasurer, talk to me about the SACP relevance, and let's not forget that there's a new generation of born-frees who are completely detached to where South Africa comes from.
Yeah, well, the relevance, we always come from a past where we're talking about, we're saying the tripartite alliance. You know, that's part of enhancing our activism, our movement actually, why we created that alliance. The relevance, for now, in particular, it actually says what is happening within the alliance. We all now have Sanco also on board. What is happening, and we would be worried within the alliance if possibly COSATU has some problems. This commemoration should remind us, revive our thinking, our ideology, to say where does this alliance come from and what does it mean? You know, can we really have, you know, very loose and, you know, flying words which can, you know, which can impact negatively on this alliance that was built on, solidly built on the grounds of you know, developing this country with, you know, history written in blood, etc., etc. Part of it is to say, is to call on our consciousness. Who are we? You know, in relation to this struggle that is still there, because we have achieved our democracy. Surely there's so much that we haven't achieved. We still have to go along a long way. You know, we're just young in democracy towards the 20 years. You know, it's just a little bit of time. But look at the impact that we've already made, which we, you know, because now there are negative connotations, we don't recognize just a small space of time and all the achievement that we had.
Joyce, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but thank you very much for joining me. Of course, for those that have just joined us today, marks the anniversary of the passing of Joe Slovo. Of course, for a lot of people, as the South African anti-apartheid activist, but somebody who was critical in liberating South Africa. Now, we spoke to the national treasurer of the SACP, Joyce Moloi Maropa, and she was sharing her thoughts on one of the fathers, Joe Slovo. We take an break.